Please take your seats and silence all cell phones. Today's closing keynote will begin momentarily. Please turn your attention to the screens for a video address from His Royal Highness Prince Mired bin Ra'ad of Jordan.
Dear friends, greetings to you all from sunny Amman. We're all very lucky to be working in this space, especially on occasions like this when we congregate to brainstorm for the betterment of our brethren with disabilities. I cannot think of a more meaningful and rewarding endeavor. The major challenge that we face, however, is the huge responsibility upon us and all other individuals like us around the world to deliver and make things actually happen. In many corners of the world, persons with disabilities, unfortunately, don't have the luxury of having any expectations. This is a very sad reality, a reality that must change. We must endeavor to surprise them and imbue hope in their hearts that their lives will change for the better, because their lives matter. And in other parts of the world, persons with disabilities enjoy their rights on par with others to a large degree and have high expectations and demand change for all. We are all very fortunate to be working in this space because there are champions among us, like Senator Harkin, a special advisor on international disability rights, Sarah Mankara, Rebecca Coakley of the Ford Foundation, President Roberta Cardano from Gallaudet University, and numerous other people, too many to mention here, but all who deserve immense credit, who are constantly breaking new ground, trailblazing, and nudging us all to do a lot more and a lot better. Please keep poking us, prodding us, and if need be, give us a little knock on the head if you find us dozing off into a slumber or falling into a state of complacency. We depend on champions like you to push the needle of progress forward. There is no better occasion to highlight this vital mission than the 7th Harkin International Disability Employment Summit, a highly anticipated event for us all. This gathering consistently delivers inspiring speeches, insightful presentations, dynamic panel discussions, and invaluable opportunities for connection and networking, making it an exceptional experience for every participant, including myself. This year, what makes the Harkin Summit even more significant is that it is occurring 4 months before the Global Disability Summit, that for those of you who don't know, will take place on the 2nd and 3rd of April in Berlin, Germany, and that will be presided over by Germany, Jordan, and IDA, the International Disability Alliance. It will be the 3rd summit, but for the first of its kind, as it will be the first time ever that close to 35 world leaders, heads of state, will be in attendance to discuss, to take stock of where we are, and to deliberate upon the rights of persons with disabilities. So there is an opportunity for the Harkin Summit to telegraph loudly its views and opinions on these rights to the GDS, especially regarding issues related to employment. What you have said and deliberated in the last 2 days is important, and the messages that you have relayed will, I am sure, make a big difference. The GDS is very much a continuation and an elaboration of Senator Harkin's amazing dream to change the world. The passion is the same, the drive is the same, and the unwavering determination is the same. Fingers crossed, it will be an inflection point, a watershed, a moment, an event that will stimulate heads of state into action. So as I mentioned earlier, the onus is upon us to deliver. What we need is a eureka moment. We want all who attend the GDS next April, especially world leaders who have yet to fully comprehend how consequential this issue is, to understand that our drive and passion to better the lives of our children, our brothers and sisters, our parents, our relatives, our neighbors, our friends, and fellow citizens is not only the morally and ethically and legally the right path forward, it is also how we create a more cohesive, harmonious, and inclusive society, a society where everyone's worth counts and is appreciated, an ecosystem that works for all and provides opportunity for everyone to learn, to work, and to live a productive and meaningful life. The most captivating aspect about all of this is that it can be done. It is doable. Strategies, plans, programs, initiatives, policies, endeavors, all can be improved, highlighted, reviewed, and executed with panache. It is just a matter of whether we have the will to do it. Of course, Jordan, as a co-president of the GDS 2025 and a representative voice for developing countries, is well positioned to shed light on the challenges persons with disabilities face in accessing employment, the central theme of the Harkin Summit. And just FYI, these challenges are very similar to the challenges that persons with disabilities face in the majority of developing countries. How to legislate the necessary laws to be CRPD compliant, how to provide inclusive education for all, and good paying job opportunities that provide all the necessary accommodations, how to combat stigma and discrimination, how to improve accessibility in the workplace and beyond, how to better transportation networks, rehabilitation and health services, etc., etc. The list is long. Senator Harkin, dear friends, again, I would like to reiterate how lucky and fortunate we are to be collaborating on such a noble cause. I apologize to everyone for not being with you in person. Hopefully next time I will be with you. I salute my dear friend Senator Harkin wholeheartedly for bringing us together and being the amazing champion that he is. I also would like to recognize Senator Harkin's formidable team and all the wonderful sponsors, the Ford Foundation, Wells Fargo, and everyone else who has contributed so marvelously to making this very special event happen. Bravo to you all, and see you in Berlin at the GDS next April. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Luis Bill Perez. I'm happy to introduce myself and three of our speakers for the last hour of the programming tonight. For a visual description of myself, I am a tall Latino man with short black hair and brown eyes. I am wearing a blue suit, white shirt, and brown shoes today. I am a junior at American University studying political science, economics, and pursuing a certificate in leadership and ethical development. Some of the wide range of research I've conducted is the impact of air quality on economic mobility for immigrants, content analyzing Latino-targeted U.S. political ads, bioethics of wildlife conservation, and consumer-side activism. Before starting law school in 2026, I hope to gain work experience in policymaking and nonprofit activism, including but not limited to immigration, disability, environmentalism, and health policy. I'm also heavily involved in public service as a local resident of the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, such as volunteering for Main Street Connect, an inclusive and accessible apartment complex, and community center for adults of all abilities. I would like to thank fellow AU Eagle Felicity Chapman for letting me know about this unique opportunity. And of course, Daniel Van Sand for giving me a chance to introduce myself and my work. And last but not least, I would like to thank Cruise for their friend-level sponsorship of the Harkin Summit. So over the last 2 days, I've learned a lot and heard incredible stories, and I'm excited to witness the journeys that lies ahead for everyone in this room. My experience from this conference is something I will carry with me for all spaces I am in, academic or non-academic. And as an older brother to a younger sister with disabilities, I also want to self-reflect from this conference to not only be a better sibling, but also a better disability ally everywhere I go. And without further ado, I'd like you to introduce three of our speakers tonight. First is Victor Calise. As Director of Global Diversity Accessible Center of Excellence on the Belonging Team Victor, Calise spearheads disability, inclusion, and accessibility to every aspect of the company, from infrastructure to employment to the shopping experience. Previously, Victor spent more than 2 decades in public service. His culminating role from 2012 to 2022 as a commissioner of New York City Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities under 3 different administrations. We also have Representative Josh Turek here tonight. Representative Turek is a state representative in the Iowa House. He is the first permanently disabled member of the Iowa legislature. He has championed improvements for education, healthcare, employment, and disabled Iowans. He is a 4-time Paralympian and a 3-time medalist and 2-time gold medalist in wheelchair basketball, winning bronze in 2012 and gold in 2016 and 2020. He has played professional wheelchair basketball for 15 years around the world. He is a disability advocate, having worked in both for-profit and non-profit disability organizations, working over 10 years as the director of a non-profit adaptive sports opportunity to disabled children. And last but not least, we have Paul Schulte, the president of Top End Sports. Schulte became paralyzed at 10 and discovered wheelchair basketball, launching a legendary career, a 2-time world champion, 4-time Paralympian, and gold medalist. With a mechanical engineering background, Schulte now serves as president of Top End Sports and equipment manufacturer for the Paralympics. Schulte is a Paralympic icon, husband, and father. Now, please join me for a warm welcome for our next 3 speakers. Thank you.
great to see you. Thank you for being at the Harkin Summit. I am Victor Calise. I am a man in a wheelchair, somewhere about the 72 vintage with some salt and pepper hair, and I'm wearing clothes.
Testing. My name is Paul Schulte. I'm not as funny as Victor, but I enjoy going along on his coattails. So I'm a 45-year-old male with a bald head, striving at a very sporty beard, and I'm decked out in Team USA gear.
And I'm State Representative Josh Turek, four-time Paralympian, two-time gold medalist. I am in a wheelchair, brown hair, 5 o'clock shadowish beard, in a light gray suit, the blue tie, looking ravishing.
That you are, I must say. And talk about the hair a little bit, how perfect it is.
Oh, thanks.
In any event, we're here to talk about sport, and right now you see a small representation of Paralympic sport, right? We're 3 men that are here, but the Paralympic sport movement encompasses every race, every gender, and there's so many different sports besides wheelchair sports in the Paralympic Games. So with that, we were thinking about what is people's idea of Paralympic sport? What first comes to mind when you think about it?
How many people are familiar with what is the Paralympics, just by a show of hands? Good. Certainly getting better.
Yeah, I guess, the way that we see it, it's, there's many different ways to think about it, but it means that it's parallel, it's Paralympics, and it's next to the Olympics, and it's 2 weeks after every Olympic game.
Yeah, in the Summer Paralympic Games is actually the second largest sporting event on Earth after the Summer Olympic Games with the most amount of athletes. And just so you guys know, we did bring our medals, and so I know that I have promised a few of you, including Daniel, wherever he is in the back. If any of you want to grab some pictures or wear these, we've got them.
And there's only 2 out of 3 people pulled them out. Yeah. All right.
We weren't trying to leave you out.
Well, yeah, all right. So I competed in the Paralympic Games in 1998 in Nagano, Japan, and it was the first USA sled hockey team that competed. And prior to that, my movement in disabled sport and how I got there is, I never knew it existed until I got hurt 30 years ago downhill mountain bike riding, where I flew over my handlebars into a tree. And from that, I was wondering what I was going to do in my life. And the first thing I found after I was disabled was sport. And sport led me to a career that I never thought was possible. I worked in disabled sport for quite some time, working with professional franchises to integrate disabled sport into non-disabled sport, working with the National Hockey League, the NBA, and Major League Baseball. On top of that, I got recruited to city government, where I worked in the Parks Department and making parks accessible to people with disabilities. And then I was the commissioner of the mayor's office, where I drove accessibility to make New York City the most accessible city in the world. Still got a long way to go, but that was our goal. And now I'm at Walmart, making sure that we become the most accessible omni-channel retailer for people with disabilities, both our customers and our associates.
Go ahead, tell your story of how you...
This is Paul. In a nutshell, my story is I grew up in a small town outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. I was one of a family of 5. I was a sports-crazed kid growing up from birth until 10, and then I was involved in a car accident when I was 10 years old, where I gained my disability. They initially said, well, hey, you should play wheelchair sports. And I was like, I had my own stereotype of what adaptive sports was going to be like, and I said, no, thank you very much. That doesn't sound very athletic or very fun. I'd like to just get back to the playground with my 10-year-old friends. And it took me years to accept an invitation, which if I have the opportunity later, I'll tell you about that. But I was very fortunate. I met some incredible mentors and role models, both in sport as well as in their professions and in their families and their lives. And from there, I was very, very fortunate to make my first team in 1998. And I competed in Sydney, Australia in 2000, Beijing, China in 2008, London in 2012. Thought I was done. I retired in 2015. did some work for NBC on the sports broadcasting side of things, and then I returned about a year ago, made the team that went to Paris, and I competed in Paris that you saw a little while ago. I was number 14. I was the one with the wash and go hairstyle.
Yeah, there you go.
In the middle.
So this is,
thank you.
if you watched any of the Paralympics, then you might know that the wheelchair basketball team had kind of a historic run, of which Josh was part in the previous 2 Paralympic games. And so this is what a Paralympic medal looked like from this year from Paris, the gold one. And it's super cool. The piece in the middle is a piece of the Eiffel Tower, which was super meaningful. It was designed by Louis Vuitton, and they included Braille on the back for all visually impaired athletes. So if you'd like to check it out afterwards, be my guest.
One thing that's interesting is myself and Schulte, we actually played against each other in junior ball, and we were saying this last night over dinner. Our careers go over like 7 or 8 Paralympics. He was better than I was early on, and so he got his start in 2000. Out of all the Paralympics that we played in, we only were teammates together in one Paralympic team, which was in 2012, in winning the bronze medal. My story, similar to Paul's and somewhat different. I was born with my condition. I was born with a condition called spina bifida. I grew up to a large working class family in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Certainly was a lot of struggles growing up poor and disabled. I come from a big family of athletes. Both my brother and sister, strange enough, played professional able-bodied basketball. And so here I was, wanting to have that competitive outlet of sports and not being able to compete. Truthfully, wheelchair basketball saved my life in every single way. I mean, it gave me a drive, a passion. I was ostracized, didn't have a whole lot of friends. And it really gave me a self-esteem. Everything I owe it to. And thankfully, I got exposed to it at 12 years old at a junior sports camp in Nebraska. Thankfully, I played well enough as a junior. I got a college scholarship to play at Southwest Minnesota State University. And honestly, had it not been for that, I probably wouldn't have attended college and gotten a bachelor's degree. From there, I had the opportunity to play professional wheelchair basketball, which doesn't exist in America, but to play professionally, we go overseas. And so I had a long career, 15 years. Got to play all around the world, lived in Italy, Spain, met my wife over in Spain, many places. By the time my career was finished, I got to play on every single continent on Earth besides Antarctica. And along the way, got to play in 4 Paralympics. Didn't do so well in my first one, but then after that, won a bronze medal. One of the things in my story that I'm the most proud of is for 6 straight years, I actually was cut from the national team. And I just kept coming back year after year and fighting to get back. And then in 2016, we had gone 28 years in the USA, a basketball nation, without winning a gold medal. And we were the team that finally broke that streak and won a gold medal. And then finished my career in Tokyo 2020. And that was actually the last basketball game that I ever played. As an athlete, we die 2 deaths. And I wanted the very ending, the last memory that I had of basketball, to be at the very top level. USA across my chest, and the stars and stripes. I had the flag around me, the gold medal around my neck, and I thought that was the perfect stopping point. And now I've been trying to have a successful part B.
Yeah, and our sports careers are just a part of us, right? But it really comes down to what we're doing after that, making an impact in the disabled community, leading by example for people, other people that are coming up, specifically young kids with disabilities that we see coming through sport. And I think that's like really, really vital. But what we bring to the workplace matters too, right? We bring that teamwork that we have. We bring that competition that's there to be able to thrive, to always be better. And recruiting Paralympic athletes and making sure they're in the workplace is something that we like to see happen a lot. And we talking about Senator Turek, Representative Turek over there, and how he's committed to making a difference in legislation, specifically in Iowa right now.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, like I said, had it not been for my time in adaptive sports, my life would be dramatically different. I certainly wouldn't have gotten a bachelor's degree. I got that because of the access to a scholarship with wheelchair basketball. I ended up getting a master's degree through the program that was done by Team USA. And honestly, I think that the skills that I developed through playing high-level Paralympic basketball that discipline, that dedication, that hard work, it's honestly the reason why someone like me has, I think it has uniquely prepared me for what modern politics has turned into. For a little bit of information about me, I come from a very red portion of the state of Iowa. Sadly, Senator Harkin's state, we have shifted to the red. And I had to go out every single day for 6 months and crawl stairs with my wheelchair and knock doors. I ended up winning by 6 votes. And that was, thank you. That was outperforming the top of the ticket by 14 points. Now for re-election last November, I won by 6%, not just 6 votes. Thank you. But it's that hard work, it's that discipline, that dedication that I received from a lifetime of basketball that really prepared me, that mental strength that you need to be able to tune out all that external noise and just focus on the task at hand and that self-belief. That all came from my time in adaptive sports.
Yeah, Paul, you're talking of like some of the things that you've done, right? And the engineering that you have in the background in wheelchairs. So you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I guess first, I just want to share that it's been an honor to be here. I wasn't able to be here yesterday, but I was able to attend some of the sessions today. And when these gentlemen were telling me about the Harkin Summit, invited me to be here tonight, I thought, well, what do I have to share about employment and the impact of sport on my employment? I come from a family where I was probably the most jock of the family. There was a musician, an artist, 2 brilliant computer programmers, and then me. So I was probably the least deep thinker of all of us. And I get it. You come from such diverse backgrounds. I'm actually a little bit intimidated, to be honest, by the number of disabilities represented here. And while I'm a little bit intimidated, I'm also like, well, this is home. This is where we come together to talk about disabilities and what it's like to be an American with a disability. And so, I heard of a study. A former teammate of mine is Michael Cottingham, and you probably have heard of the study many times. By NCAA funded a study at the University of Houston that studied the impact of adaptive sports on individuals with disabilities. And the employment rate of those individuals, the conclusion of the study, if you want a copy, I'm sure you can get one or I can send it to you, it was that of all Americans, 18%, all Americans in wheelchairs, focus was on mobility, that 18% of them were employed. And that value jumps to 57% if that individual was involved in an adaptive sport. 18% to 57%. I think that we would probably nod our heads and feel grateful for that if it had even doubled, right? But 18% to 57%, and that was of all individuals, regardless of whether or not they scored a basket or not, across all adaptive sports. So I was thinking to myself, okay, what could I possibly come and share with you? You are accredited professionals in this field. What could I possibly come and tell you? The only thing I have to share with you is my experience. The first time I finally accepted an invitation to go into a wheelchair basketball practice, I saw 2 individuals. The first one was a double amputee. He lost his legs in an accident, and he was, as the kids say, he was jacked. This guy was a little bit younger than I am now. His arms were bigger than my head. He could walk around in his hands with his chair strapped to him. He could hit 3-pointers. He could get off the ground. If you watched any of the Paralympics, you've seen athletes that can get off the ground just as fast as an able-bodied athlete can. And he was incredible. And I just thought, what on earth am I watching? And there was another individual there that night. The other individual was a very high-level spinal cord injury. I don't think he had any core function whatsoever. And he had a big beard before it was fashionable. He was a little heavy set, and he would have told you that he was the least athletic person there. But he drove a Corvette, had a girlfriend, and a full-time job. I'm 14 years old at this time. We've just rolled into the gym, and my dad leans over my shoulder and he goes, I want you to pay really close attention to both these guys. And so to me, what I can share with you is at a very minimum, what adaptive sports provides young Americans with disabilities is a connection to a real live living and breathing example of someone that's living the kind of life that they want to live. Does that make sense? I wasn't motivated to become better at math until it was in my way, because I caught a vision of what my life could be like. I saw examples of people that were living active, independent lives, and they had families, and they had significant others, and they had kids, and they were driven and passionate about being contributing citizens. I love to learn about Sir Gutman, who formed the Paralympics, and among his goals was that the people that he helped rehabilitate would pay taxes, because he equated them paying taxes to being a healthy symptom of someone that had been rehabilitated, someone that had reconnected with community and their country in meaningful ways. And so for me in my life, now being a president of a small manufacturer, that is something I'm deeply grateful for, to have been introduced to meaningful role models that told me, dream big and then work hard. And so I definitely want to extend my gratitude to all of you for what you're doing to clear paths for individuals from all walks of life and all disabilities to follow behind you and find it better than you did.
We've got, oh, yeah.
No, you're up. Yeah, absolutely.
We've got if you can roll it, we've got a quick 30-second video I think we'd like to show for a moment here. It's just 30 seconds, kind of leans in on this impact that
produced by a small nonprofit in the state of Ohio. Ohio now has, as of this fall, 13 high school wheelchair basketball programs that are open not only to athletes with disabilities, but also able-bodied kids. If you've ever seen an able-bodied child jump in a wheelchair for even 5 seconds, it's pretty fun. And so their organization and many others, and kind of a personal mission of mine, is to find and assist any individual that's striving to offer adaptive sports opportunities for all disabilities in public schools. And that's probably sounds like Mount Everest, but this sounds like a room of people that's used to climbing Mount Everest. So on the chance that was a meaningful video for you, that looked like me when I was 10. Except a little bit more time in playing video games. But
yeah, and you know, the power of sport for children and the power of sports for adults with disabilities has led us into careers that we never thought were possible, and we're happy to be able to share that with you today.
And we're not in a vacuum here. I mean, besides bringing some shiny trophies, and it was the honor of my life to represent my country on the field of play and now in a legislative capacity. But this has the ability to really transform lives and lots of kids' lives. We see that difference. To take the adult employment rate from the teens all the way up to above 50%, that's meaningful. That's 4 times. We're here at a disability employment summit. That is something that can really move. And I know in the legislative space, I'm spending a lot of my time and energy trying to remove a lot of these barriers from Medicaid and on to employment. This is something that can really move the needle in a significant way.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Come check out their medals. And appreciate your time.
Anybody wants a picture with it? No worries. Thank you all.
Please welcome to the stage Senator Tom Harkin and PBS News Senior Correspondent Judy Woodruff.
We wanted to close out this year's summit with something new and very special. For the first time, the Harkin Institute will be giving out the Harkin International Disability Employment Summit Advocacy Award. This award will be given out annually to a dedicated disability advocate. Be on the lookout for a more formal nomination and selection process going forward. But we have so many leaders in the room with us today, and all of you certainly know other leaders who maybe weren't able to make it here, but are deserving of recognition. Recognition as an advocate. If you know a person or an entity deserving of this recognition, please, in the ensuing weeks, months, reach out to the Harkin Institute with any advice or suggestions, nominations that you have for our next summit. And with that, I'm excited to acknowledge the first recipient of this award, Judy Woodruff. Judy Woodruff is a distinguished American journalist, renowned for her career in broadcast journalism and her commitment to telling stories that matter. She served as the anchor and managing editor of PBS NewsHour, where she became a trusted voice in delivering unbiased news coverage. Over 5 decades, Woodruff has worked at major networks, including NBC, CNN, and PBS, earning awards for her reporting and dedication to journalistic integrity. A passionate advocate for shedding light on underrepresented communities, Woodruff has used her platform to spotlight critical social issues, including the challenges faced by people with disabilities. Her reporting has helped amplify the voices of individuals and families impacted by disability, addressing the societal barriers they encounter and the resilience they exemplify. Woodruff's dedication to accurate and compassionate storytelling stems in part from her personal experience. Her son was born with spina bifida, giving her a unique perspective and commitment to this cause. Her work has created widespread respect, not only for its journalistic excellence, but also for its advocacy and humanity. Judy Woodruff's career exemplifies the power of journalism to foster understanding, empathy, and action, making her an ideal recipient of this first prestigious award. And with that, I'll reach in here and I'll walk over here. Judy Woodruff. Judy. It's great to see you again, but I miss you on the PBS NewsHour.
Thank you, Senator. It is an incredible honor for me to receive this. I was blown away when you all let me know about this not so long ago, and it's just such an honor to be here today. And I so regret that I couldn't, because of so many other things happening right now, that I couldn't be here for the rest of this summit, because the program, I looked at it, has just been remarkable, including that conversation just now with these Olympic medal winners. So remarkable, so inspirational.
Judy, thank you. We had some great sessions here, and we're wrapping up a great 2 days. We've had people here from around the globe and around the United States, a lot of just really, really dedicated people, and a lot of great sessions. Again, learning from one another, networking on how we increase the employment in competitive integrated employment, of course, of people with disabilities. But I just wonder if I could just get a personal. Can I get personal here just a second?
There's nobody watching or listening.
No, because it's the personal stories and things that people have that are so meaningful in all of our lives. So tell us about your son. Tell us about your experiences and how that has influenced you, how that has made you so keen, so insightful into the lives of people with disabilities. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you for that incredibly generous comment. I feel undeserving with that remarkable description you just gave. And I have to say, Senator, after watching you and your remarkable advocacy for those with disabilities and all the issues around it, that this first award should have gone to you because you're the one who set the example for all of us. So thank you. In terms, I will say this before I talk about my son Jeff for just a moment, that I've come to learn that each individual does come to this subject, this issue, with their own story, with their own understanding, realization, whatever happened, whether it was a member of their family, a friend, or something else that turned them on to disability or themselves. And so I am as humble as I think. I try to be humble in talking about my experience because I understand that everyone brings their own experience. In our case, our son Jeff was born 43 years ago. We learned just before he was born that there might be an issue with something they called spina bifida, which at the time my husband and I had never heard of. And I just heard the Iowa representative, Josh, we just heard from explain that he has spina bifida. And so how wonderful to see him doing as remarkably well as he is. And so Jeff, it turned out I had what was described to us as a fairly mild case of spina bifida. It's when the spinal cord doesn't form completely. They do a surgery when the baby's just a few hours old. Then there's another surgery when he was about 10 months old. Long story short, Jeffrey went on to walk at 13 months. He was at grade level in school and doing as well as he could be, along with some of the other issues that go with spina bifida, hydrocephalus, learning challenges. And then when he was a teenager, at the age of 16, he had to have a procedure to replace a shunt. And one of those things happened. There was an accident during surgery that left Jeff quite significantly disabled after that, because before that he had been skiing, swimming, riding a bike. He'd been doing all the physical things that the kids his age do. He couldn't run fast. That did come with spina bifida, but he was doing all these other things. So that's when our lives changed. And I like to think before our son was injured that I was pretty understanding, that I was, and my husband, you know Al Hunt, my husband, both of us are journalists, we thought we knew what it meant to have a disability, that we were empathetic enough. But honestly, it wasn't until our own family was impacted as we were. Jeff was in a coma for 5 months. He was in the hospital longer than that. It took him, he lost a year of school. He finally got back to school, went to college, was able to graduate. Took him 8.5 years with a whole lot of accommodation. He was able to graduate. And then when he finished, as his brother was heading off to college, he said, I don't want to live at home, I want to live away. So we were able to find a community, a supportive community. So today, Jeff lives in Westminster, Maryland. It's about an hour and 20 minutes north of DC, in a wonderful, wonderful community in a program run by a college there called McDaniel College. So we've been blessed in many ways. But we've also, and Jeff principally, has also dealt, Senator, with all of the issues that I think anyone in the disability community understands. Challenges with education, physical barriers, just getting into and out of places, being denied the ability to go places, so many places, because he's in a wheelchair. He not only is in a wheelchair and can only walk with assistance, he lost the use of his right arm as a result of this mistake in surgery. He lost vision in one eye. Short-term memory is gone for the most part. Speech impairment and a lot of different issues. And so Jeff is the one who has to climb that Mount Everest every day. He gets up in the morning. He needs help with all activities of daily living. Having said that, he's able to he has a wonderful job working at the fitness center at the college, McDaniel College. He works 8 hours a week and earns a paycheck, and he's very proud of that. He pays Social Security and taxes and all the rest of it. There are challenges, and yet his spirit is remarkable. He looks upon each day as a new opportunity, as a new challenge. He doesn't want to visit home in DC to see mom and dad that often. He'd rather be with his friends and colleagues up in Westminster. But to answer your question, and this is longer than I intended, it's a journey. It's been a journey for all of us, as I'm trying to say. We have seen through Jeffrey's eyes all the challenges, I think, that are out there, from education to employment when he was younger, to accessibility, to just personal relationships, and the ability or lack of ability in many instances to form relationships. And that's something he's had to work at very hard. And I'm glad to say he has good friends where he is, but it's a journey. It's a journey.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, I'll bet you not a lot of people out here knew that whole story. Now you understand why Judy Woodruff has been so sensitive and incisive in her reporting on people with disabilities. Thank you for sharing that very personal story with us. It's these kind of personal stories that kind of give us motivation and kind of guide us in what we're doing. We're not just mechanics. We're human beings, and we care about one another, and we care about making sure that every life, every person with a disability has every opportunity to enjoy life to the fullest. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that your son is enjoying life to the fullest.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank
Blessed.
you. Well, thank you. I guess, and also, obviously that has, and I'm thinking some of the reporting back and things that you've done in the past, that just gave you a great insight into what families have to go through. And some of the hurdles out there, but the resilience of families with a child with a severe disability and what they go through. But it's the resilience of these families that I think are it's so important. Okay, your career's in journalism. So talk to me or talk to us about the role of journalism, whether it's a print medium or television. social media, of sort of enlightening people, bringing people along that don't really understand what it means to be independent, self-sufficient, to have high expectations rather than low expectations. Again, I'm editorializing here a little because I think for too long we've always had low expectations of people with disabilities. Well, that's not, why shouldn't we have high expectations? So is there anything more we could be doing? What could journalism do?
Well, journalism, I think all of us in journalism could be doing a much better job of talking about not only talking about the challenges facing individuals with disabilities, but also celebrating the accomplishments of people with disabilities. We need to be doing all of the above. I will tell you, Senator, that I've been so fortunate in my reporting for the NewsHour. Since I stopped anchoring, I've been able to focus. I've been working on a number of reports around our political differences. You may have noticed the country's pretty divided right now, so we're doing a lot of reporting on that. But in addition to that, I very much wanted to do reporting around the issues, the greatest challenges right now facing people with disabilities. So we have done a series of pieces. I'm so thankful that this has been funded by the Ford Foundation, which I know has been supportive of this summit. For example, we just last year took a very good look, what we felt was a good look at the housing challenges. We visited an apartment, a young man who lives in an apartment building in Rochester, New York, who moved about, 6 or 7 years ago into an apartment that is completely inadequate. For him, he cannot even get his wheelchair into the kitchen. He's able to actually get it in, but when he's in, he can't open the refrigerator or open a drawer or use the stove. So he has to have someone else come and do that. And the same thing with maneuvering. It's a very small apartment. I sat with him as he talked about those challenges and why we are in desperate need in this country of more housing. We're in need of housing, period, and we are especially in need of housing for those with disabilities. I was going to say, then we went to California, where we were introduced to this new facility in San Jose. It's a building that was designed for multi-use, for individuals with and without disabilities, and with different levels of income, different levels of rent that they are asked to pay. And they've designed it new, it's accessible, it's working, it's exciting. And so we were able to look at the worst of what's going on and what's possible. And there's a long journey between those two because it takes money. We talked to the woman who was inspired to build this building because she had a young cousin with spina bifida, and that inspired her to push this project. She talked about what it takes in terms of the real estate industry, the financing you have to have, the zoning, and all the rest of it. It's hard, but it can be done, and we wanted to show that. But Senator, we've done other reports on 14C, the whole debate over sub-minimum wages. We've looked at that, and we know there's been some development on the last few days with President Biden, and we've looked at the challenges of finding helpers, aides for individuals with disabilities. I just have to tell you, I visited with a family in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, where the woman who comes during the day to help them take care of their significantly disabled son who's in his 20s, she works there all day long, and she's paid so little because this is a family with very limited means. She works all night staying with another family with a child who needs someone to watch to make sure nothing goes wrong overnight. So I said to her, when do you see your own family? And her answer was, well, we try to get together on the weekend. She has children of her own, but she's essentially somebody working 24 hours a day, as much as she can, caring for individuals with disabilities. We have a long way to go in this country when it comes to sufficient help, sufficient direct, what we call, as you know, direct support for these severely needy individuals.
right after the ADA passed, I took the floor of the Senate talking about it. And I said, but there's one more hurdle. There's one more thing we have to do, and it's called personal attendant services. Well, that's been 35 years ago, and we still don't have what we need in terms of what you say, supportive personal attendant services, both, and also in employment matters also. But you touched on housing. There is no reason in the world why we are building houses today that are not of universal design and accessible to all. I must tell you, I got a little upset with the Biden administration because they announced all these new houses. I said, but you didn't stipulate that all of these new houses should be accessible. And here I'm editorializing again, I'm taking the stump, I guess, that we have a whole new industry in America now to come in and fix up your house if you're elderly so that you can stay at home. Well, that costs a lot of money. Why not build the houses that are accessible in the first place, which doesn't cost much money? So I'm really glad you mentioned housing. Whether it's separate housing or apartments or condominiums, there's literally no reason why they shouldn't be accessible to all. So I thank you for mentioning that. Are there other things, though, that if you've learned through your life's experiences, but through all of the different people and things that you've interviewed, focused on, anything else sort of come to mind that you think we ought to be looking at going ahead, that maybe I'm missing, maybe some of us are missing, that you feel strongly about and see, something's missing here, or something needs to be done that maybe we haven't thought of anything, Judy?
Well, I have to say, Senator, I commend the disability community broadly for continuing to fight the fights that it's fighting, because it's largely an uphill battle. It's been tough. Yes, the ADA passed. There have been improvements to the ADA, but we still, as you just said, with regard to housing, with regard to AIDS, with regard to employment, with regard to education, there's so many, what the summit is all about, employment, education. There's still so much to be done. And so the fact that you can, again, get up every morning and say, we're not in any way flagging in our commitment to this cause. It is so important. And, you know, somebody's not suddenly going to turn on a light switch and everything's going to be better. It's one step at a time. There have been amazing accomplishments that have happened. And you see it again. I mean, I'm looking at these three Olympians, Paralympians we just heard from, and I'm thinking, I wish everybody could hear that these gentlemen are leading as normal a life as you could possibly lead, succeeding, doing in business, in politics, in whatever their work is. And they're doing it despite their physical disability. It's become something, and we are seeing this more and more in American life, but we still don't see it enough. We don't see it enough. We don't have enough focus, in my view, on these issues that you and I are talking about. There's still a lot of, I mean, in the political campaign this year, I don't think I heard much discussion at all about disabilities. Maybe I'm wrong, I missed it, but it should be a topic of discussion, and whether it's the Congress, whether it's coming from the White House, in the States. And so I don't have anything to add. I celebrate what the disability community is doing, and I marvel at the ability of the disability community to keep going in the face of as many challenges as there are. But you are absolutely right. It's organizing, it's pushing, it's not getting discouraged. It's all of the above, because that's what's ultimately going to make a difference. It's not getting discouraged. It's the same thing that's driven you in your advocacy all these years.
There's absolutely nothing I could add to what you just said. That was very profound, and I can't think of a better note on which to end this summit. Thank you, Judy Woodruff, for your advocacy, for enlightening so many millions of Americans as to the whole area of disability and what we need to do. Thank you for what you have done and what you continue to do to keep us focused on it.
Thank you. I'm so honored. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage, Daniel Van Sant.
So this is Daniel. The senator has asked if he can thank me, which I will allow him to do. So
I'm thankful. I'm thankful for your humble spirit. That's for. Thank you all for making these 2 days so great. We had great breakout sessions. We had people, as I said, from all over the country, from around the globe. We had great speeches and presentations. And as I said, the breakout sessions were great. And like I said, I just can't think of a better note on which to end it than what we heard from Judy Woodruff. Thank you to Matt Reed, our executive director, and our staff who was here to help. Thank you, of course, to our great leader, Daniel Van Sant. And we're all part of his fan club. And so many of you, I just say, safe travels home. Keep the spirit alive, keep pushing for more accessibility, keep pushing for more employment in competitive integrated employment, and we'll see you next year at the 9th Summit. Thank you. See you, David. See you, Daniel.
Thank you. Okay, now this is Daniel speaking. Jingling across the stage for the last time this week. The senator, I cannot say it better than him, so I want to thank everybody, of course, for being here. I want to make sure I thank our next 3 sponsors, which are Principal Financial, JP Morgan Chase, as well as BNIM, and a special thank you to Kevin Nordmeyer from BNIM, who's also on our National Advisory Committee and watching online today. Just my last housekeeping pieces here. I'm very excited that our Paralympians have offered for there to be photos with the medals. I personally requested the medals to be here, and I'm going to insist that I have photos with the medals. I'm going to ask that they do these photos at the photo moment in the exhibition hall by the sign that says, Harkin takes all my friends to the summit, so we can have some amazing photos with the medals there. So I'll see you out there. I also wanted to do a brief shout out to thank Hi Feldblum for offering to connect with our law students here on legal careers. So I will facilitate that after, but wanted to brag about that and throw out the challenge for everyone else here. Find a way to engage with the students like Hi has offered. Thank you to Senator Harkin. Thank you to the rest of the Harkin Institute staff, all of our sponsors, all of the volunteers here today, our event staff, and of course all of you as the attendees here. If this is your first time engaging with the Harkin Institute, know that we don't just do a summit once a year. We work on these topics all year round. And I have colleagues that are working on retirement security, wellness and nutrition, labor and employment, basic income. So please follow the Harkin Institute year round, not only when we have the summit, although we are really happy to have you here. Follow us the rest of the year on social media and come to our other events. As the senator said, we hope that if this is your first time coming to a summit, that you will join us at the next one. If you are here for your umpteenth summit, we hope we see you at the next one. We are always looking for partners and hosts for future summits, whether that's 2025, 26, 27. I can keep counting, but I think you know where that's going. So if you believe that you could be a partner or a host nation to host a future summit, please reach out to me and the rest of us at the Harkin Institute. And I want to remind everybody of the Senator's challenge that the goal of this summit was to double the rate of employment of people with disabilities in 10 years. We have 2 more summits left to reach that. We're looking for really engaged and exciting partners that can help us get to that goal in the next 2 summits before we set the next challenge and landmark. So it's already been said a couple times that there's no greater way to end the summit, but I'm already up here, so I feel like I have to try something. So I'm gonna steal a line from Paul Schulte, who said, I'm gonna misquote him, so I already apologize, and please don't withhold your medal that I'm really looking forward to holding. He made a comment about how being here can feel a little bit intimidating, but that it feels like home. And I just think that that's such a beautiful encapsulation of what we hope that this summit does, and maybe for the disability inclusive employment process. It can feel a little intimidating to ask for accommodations or put yourself out there into a job. Sometimes employers can feel intimidated about hiring people with disabilities. The purpose of these events is to break down that intimidation, break down those challenges, and to make employment spaces that feel like home. So to have someone coming for the first time and say that this event feels intimidating but feels like home is perfect. We want you to come to the summit and be challenged and uncomfortable, and we want you to be comfortable and welcomed at the same time. So thank you, Paul, not only for coming and speaking, but for giving me a really poignant quote to end on. That's always really helpful. And again, thank all of you. Our slogan this year was obviously Harkin takes all my friends to the summit. Whether you are an old friend, a new friend, a friend from the US, or Namibia, or Guatemala, or any of the other amazing countries represented here, thank you, thank you, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.